Could you explain the difference between coarse and fine hair? Why, I certainly can. I would like to first start by saying it is never what people think it is. Everyone thinks of coarse and fine being like fine being straight and coarse being curly, coily, or kinky. Totally not the case. In the instance of coarse hair, it means that the diameter of each individual strand is larger than the diameter of a finer strand, which has a finer or smaller diameter. So finer hair is actually much more prone to breakage and it cannot take as much abuse because of the fact that the diameter is thinner, it more easily snaps. Think of spaghetti versus angel hair pasta. So typically with coarse hair, it's going to take a little bit more heat in order to do the same job, whereas with fine hair, it's going to take significantly less heat to do the same job. And then it's a spectrum. So you've also got normal or typical hair that's going to fall somewhere in the middle, and you're going to have some sections of your head that may be one texture, like the edges always tend to be more fine than the interior. So all things to keep in mind. I hope that helps, and follow for more.
If your hair is curly or natural and you have those little balls on the ends, it's time for a trim. If your ends always feel dry despite being deep conditioned with moisture, it's time for a trim. If no matter what you do, it seems as though you've got definition at the top portion of your curls, but there's always lacking definition at the bottoms here recently, it's time for a trim. If your hair is naturally curly or coily and you're pressing it and those ends never stay straight, they always look to be reverting, and you've already deep conditioned with moisture, boo-boo, it's time for a trim. These are all signs of split ends on curly, kinky, coily hair. And unfortunately, it's not talked about enough because in textbooks, we frequently talk about how it looks like on straighter fabrics of hair. So hopefully this helps you out. And I hope that some of you are making your appointments for your trims. Okay, love you, bye.
How to find your porosity. Let's talk about it. I have to first say most people are going to fall in normal porosity unless their hair is chemically treated. Please don't let these internets have you feeling like you got to be at high or at low. Like there is a spectrum within there. I personally am not a fan of the water situation where you're like putting your hair in water and seeing if it sinks. There's too many variables where that can go wrong. Is your hair clean? Is it dirty? Do you have a film on there? Is there buildup? Do you have hot water, cold water, lukewarm water? What's your version of lukewarm? It's too much. So instead, I look at the attributes of the hair. If you easily get buildup on that hair when you're using creams, that's low porosity. If your hair is really prone to dryness, matting, and tangling, usually that's going to be more on the side of high porosity. If your hair loses moisture incredibly quickly, like you did a deep conditioner today and tomorrow it feels parched all over again, high porosity. If you feel like, well, neither one of those is kind of me, you're in the middle, boo-boo. That's pretty normal. YouTube has made things way too complex and it's just not.
So I don't know who needs to hear this, but if you've been pulling your hair in ponytails, braided styles, things like that, and you ended up with the bumps around the sides, that's your scalp's way of saying, this too much. Take it out. It's too tight. Okay, love you. Bye. Okay, so let's talk about male pattern baldness and thinning, things like that in men specifically that does impact women as well. Now, with men, one of the biggest impacts is testosterone. This can also affect women who have PCOS, things that can impact their hormones and things as well, to where they're now producing more testosterone. So things to look out for. There are actually a good degree of products on the market that have DHT blockers in there, which DHT is a product produced from overproduction of testosterone, things like that, that can actually cause a minimizing of the hair follicles to where the hair now grows in smaller sizes until it gradually just stops growing altogether. A lot of people are familiar with Rogaine, but Rogaine on the market seems like it just focuses more on one side of it, whereas there are some preventative products like Bosley that you can utilize as well. Bosley goes everywhere from shampoo to a supplement to scalp treatments, infrared light treatments, and eventual surgery, and they deal primarily with hair loss in general. The other nice thing about Bosley is they do have multiple different lines. So if you are color treated, things like that, they have sulfate-free options. And they do have an option for hair that needs a little more moisture. But to be honest with you, they still need to step it up a bit in the space of moisture. If that is a concern of yours, I would highly suggest utilizing another conditioner, either mixing it with it or just following up as like a co-wash in between your services where you're doing that. And understanding that you can still do the scalp treatments and things like that and keep your moisture balance nice and high. Just keep in mind that with products like that, often when you stop using them, they stop working because they have a DHT blocker built in. And so if you are no longer applying the topical treatment that is battling the issue that you have, it stops working and then you start seeing those issues come back. So just a little bit of forewarning that once you start, it's a lifestyle. The same is true for other treatments like minoxidil and finasteride. Minoxidil is, of course,
Rogaine that you can get over the counter at different strengths for both men and women. Finasteride is an oral treatment that you take internally to help out with some of these issues that has to be prescribed by a doctor. And of course, any type of supplements, things like that, because your hair needs nutrition in order to grow. So if you're not getting the nutrition that you need, your body will not prioritize hair. It will prioritize your other organs that are needed in order for your body to function at a higher level. In the meantime, you can use a graphite spray like Topic that you can get at Sally's. There are a couple other ones as well, like X-Fusion, where you can just spray it in the areas that are thinner while you're waiting on that hair to grow back in. And that way it helps to kind of mask and disguise some of what's going on there without looking like you have a painted on hairline or a Beijing. I hope this information has been helpful and in-depth enough, but if you have additional questions, please let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to answer as soon as possible. Have a great day. Good morning, fam. Let's discuss real quickly the difference between shedding, breakage, and hair loss. By the way, my name is Linwood. I'm a licensed cosmetologist, and I talk about stuff like this on the internet. Did you know that the average head of hair sheds anywhere from 60 to 100 strands a day, depending on your thickness and density? From there, if you're not regularly shampooing your hair, or if you're not regularly brushing through your hair, things like that, you tend to see that when you take it down, shampoo it, brush through it, or detangle, that you're going to see a good degree of shedding. That is normal. Now, if you're seeing a bunch of little small pieces of hair, and those hairs are typically going to be from the ends, things like that, that's usually breakage. The number one cause of breakage is going to be dryness, although in some instances it can mean that you overprocessed your hair with heat or with chemicals. So usually deep conditioning with moisture first, and maybe a little bit of a strengthening conditioner added in can really help. Now, excessively tight styles or styles that involve hair being pulled quite a bit can actually cause hair loss where it's being pulled from the scalp, and then you're going to notice visible thinning from the scalp area. You can also see hair loss due to medical conditions, things like that, or certain medications can cause hair loss, and that's usually where the hair is coming out from the scalp. You can see it with certain autoimmune disorders, things along that line, and usually you're going to need to see a dermatologist in those instances because there's very limited aspects of what you can do from the outside in that instance. Heart medications and blood pressure medications are so known to cause hair loss. So I would definitely say there, following your doctor's orders around your diet and exercise, limiting your stress, things like that are going to be super crucial. So that way they can gradually, under their care, step you down on your dosage so you're not having to continue on a medication that's causing the issue that you're fighting. So to summarize, get you a quality moisturizing shampoo and conditioner and deep condition at least once a month with a mixture of moisture and protein. Make sure that you're regularly getting your trims because split ends cause breakage as well. Ensure that you're not wearing a ton of overly tight styles. If it hurts, it probably shouldn't be in there. And last but not least, please listen to your doctor's instructions when it comes down to your health because it's huge. It makes a big difference and it impacts your hair as well. So if we got to get you to care about your health by getting you to care about your looks, baby, I'll go whatever route we got to go. Have a great day. And you know I love you, boo. Hey, boo. It's me, Linwood, bringing you very much sitting up in my room. But that's beside the point. Let's get into it. Today's tip of the day: dirt does not make your hair grow. Please stop telling people that. Usually when people say things like that, they're always like, oh, well, I get sew-ins or individual braids, things like that, and I leave it in for however long. I don't wash it the entire time and I have growth. What you doing?
You are like a little cat like yourself.
And while I understand the logic that when you mess with your hair less, your hair retains more length, it is not dirt that is making your hair grow. A clean, healthy scalp is going to grow hair better. That being said, the average rate of growth for a head of hair is about 1/2 inch a month for the average individual. For children, it tends to grow a little bit faster, and it also tends to grow faster in spring and summer. Nutrition and proper care do a ton more for hair growth than leaving your hair dirty. If these kids don't, it's too much. That being said, have a great day. My kids are doing the most.
Oh my God, Leah, what the fuck?
Good morning, fam. So you remember how on the back of the hair color box it always tells you that you need to do a 24 to 48 hour patch test? Let's talk about that. So on the back of a hair color box, it's going to tell you two different things. The first is do a strand test. That's to see how the color is going to take on your actual strands of hair. And usually it's just an isolated piece. The second is going to be a patch test, which is usually done on the inner portion of the elbow here or on the inner portion of the wrist here. Some recommend on the neck. Don't do it on the neck. For people who have never had hair color before, you always want to ensure you do a patch test because if you're allergic to it, it can literally cause eyes to swell shut, all that. You can go back and watch the original video, but it gets far worse. And some people can even cause issues like death, hospitalization, things like that, especially if they have a severe allergy to aniline derivative dyes. Please understand that it's always best to err on the side of caution, especially if you've never done color before. For additional tips, make sure to follow for more and If you have tangle prone hair, then you probably hate shampoo day because it takes forever to detangle your hair afterwards. Well, not if you follow me because I give you power tips like this one. Prior to shampooing your hair, put it in some loose plaits and shampoo it like that. Let me show you what it looks like. Putting that hair in loose plaits like this while you shampoo allows you to easily cleanse the hair without causing the friction and rubbing, things like that you're gonna see in other instances. Now, before anyone says anything, yes, if your plaits are fairly loose, you can still easily rinse shampoo from the hair and you can condition like this. The nice thing is because the strands are not rubbing together, you don't have to worry about issues like that hair tangling and matting is bad. It makes the whole detangling process much easier. It'll save you on a ton of time, especially if you have tender-headed little kids. And when I tell you this is a life-changing tip, I did it in the salon all the time, completely tear-free experience. If you found this tip helpful, please remember to like and follow for more. Love you, boo. Okay, so when you're doing a deep conditioning mask, you don't need to condition, honestly. So let's talk about why. In a deep conditioner, the molecules of the ingredients are broken down to a smaller size, which means they're able to penetrate deeper into the hair. So even though a mask is thicker, you don't need to go in and condition with a mask and then use a regular conditioner afterwards, or use a regular conditioner and then follow with a mask. It just doesn't work as well as you would hope. And honestly, at that point, you're just wasting product. If the deep conditioning mask didn't do what it was supposed to do, it's not a quality mask. Now, in the instance of locks, there is a slight caveat. If you are conditioning locks with conditioner or with a mask, you always make sure to water it down to where it's a liquid. Doing so allows you to ensure that you are not getting buildup inside the locks because now it's thin enough to easily pass through the locks. You get the conditioning benefits without the buildup in the locks, which leads to dryness and breakage in the long run. Remember, locks are just like larger strands of hair because we have multiple strands bound together. You still have to treat them with love, care, and respect. Follow for more.
All right, so in the context of baby shampoo, here's the thing. They're formulated more for the eye than they are for the hair. Basically meaning that in the instance of a small child, you don't want to get shampoo in their eye and be causing quite a bit of burning because it's rather uncomfortable, obviously. However, comma space, if you are at a point to where you can shampoo their hair without getting things in their eyes, you're not doing so much movement and all that, I would always recommend to switching them over to a quality line that is marketed more so towards moisture or whatever it is that they're needing. Typically, in the instance of a child like that, it's going to be moisture because they don't have anything in their hair to be stealing from their protein really, so it's not really a need like that. Even if you are at a point where you're having to use baby shampoo, even though I know everyone and their mom tries to say, like, you don't need conditioner for the babies, that's usually people who don't have babies with curly and or thirsty and or sandy brown hair. So yeah, maybe they feel like they don't need conditioner, but that hair still needs conditioning. It's still pH balanced, still science. Hey fam, so let me give you a quick power tip here. If you are accustomed to using a curling wand on your hair and you've been burning the Hello Kitty out of your fingers, please do not purchase one of those really expensive gloves that's supposed to protect your hands from being burned. Let me share with you a quick tip. Go to Dollar Tree and get you one of those exfoliating bath gloves. Literally $1.25. Put that mug on and curl your hair with that. They're heat resistant, so you don't have to worry about burning up your flesh, and your hair can still look good. Just make sure that you're not using that iron on 450 degrees or you won't have hair to curl. Okay, love you, bye!
Okay, so let's be real. If you made it this far, why aren't you subscribed? Go ahead and subscribe because you know you love it here, and you know we love you here as well. So subscribe, follow, like, all the things. You know I love you, boo.